Hey YouTube, Brian here. Just wanted to do a video about the caudiciforme Ipomoeas. I've got some seedlings that need to be potted up, so just wanted to go over them a little bit. This is that family of plants that has things like the sweet potatoes, morning glories, bindweeds, all of those. Some of them are very interesting in that they start to form a nice little caudex. You can see right at the base here I've got a nice little caudex starting to form. This is Ipomoea pubescens. I don't know if you can see close enough on here, but all of the leaves and stems and everything are covered in a fine little layer of hairs. This one's just waking up. It's only been growing for the last few weeks. Only got its first water of the year probably 10 days ago or so. And it's already shooting up. It's already starting to wrap around the little trellis I have it on. And what I wanted to pot up are some little seedlings I have of a different species. It's not currently described as it seems. It's very similar to the Ipomoea pubescens, but it is glabrous. It doesn't have the hair on it, so it's smooth. It has similar flowers, and unlike pubescens, which has dark seeds, the seeds on this species are actually bright orange and fuzzy. Thanks to a friend who taught me a little trick about scarifying or scarring the seeds for this. They sat in this pot for a couple of years, not growing at all, until I took a little file to them and just made a little nick in the seed coat, put them in some water, and they grew within 2 days. So sometimes being patient is not the way to go. You have to speed things along. I happen to know from growing these before that these plants will go from this small size of only being a few weeks old now to full-size blooming plants all in the course of this season. So for any of these guys, I like to have a mix that has a fair bit of grit, something that's fairly coarse. So I've got some perlite, some quartz sand, there's a little bit of a basic soil mix here, and some pumice. And I'm just going to mix all of those together. As happens with so many of these cacti, succulents, and caudiciforme plants, you almost feel like you're more planting them in gravel than in a potting mix, but that seems to be what they like. You can give them some water and food and it flows on through, and they don't tend to rot that way. So nice gritty mix there. Doesn't really hold together. You can squeeze that and it just crumbles apart. There we go. Knowing how quickly these plants grow, I'm going to go from this seedling pot right up into something fairly large for them. So just gently tap those out. You can see, they're only a few weeks old, but already some roots right the way down to the bottom. So I just want to gently tease things apart. Now, this is more of a seed starting mix. It's mostly just Sunshine No. 4 or Pro Mix. A little bit of that can get mixed in here. It looks like it's quite dry, but in actual fact there's enough moisture for these guys hidden away in there. So I'll just gently crumble some of the soil off the roots here. We're left with a nice plant, nice root system. So we'll take this soil, gritty soil mix, readjust the camera so you can actually see. There we go. Partly fill the pot. Take those roots and just lay them out nicely so that they're not all clumped together in the center. Just gently holding the plant. Scoop some mix all the way around. And because this is actively growing, it can take some water. So I will take that now, give it a drink to settle the soil in. I don't want to push again, don't want to break off any roots. Give it a drink, settle it in, and give it a trellis because it's going to be growing very quickly. These plants will grow through the summer, and by late summer to early fall, you'll start to see the leaves losing some of their color. The plant's losing a bit of its vigor. They're starting to yellow a little bit. And that's a sign with these guys that it's time to stop watering. They're getting ready to go dormant. And for instance, for this plant from last year in the fall, probably early September, it didn't get a drink again until May. It was just a caudex sitting there dormant. If you give them a drink at that point in time, you've got a really high likelihood of just rotting them off. So keep them dry when they want to be dry. It did manage to do fairly well even in a humid greenhouse, but ideally it probably would have been somewhere a little bit drier. This species I thankfully managed to save some seed for, because even just the humidity in this greenhouse was enough to make some of the bigger plants rot away over winter. So they really do want to have somewhere that's pretty dry and no watering until they decide to show a bit of growth in the spring. Thanks, YouTube. Take care.